Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with your favourite show of the week, Talking Tactics, this time to reflect on West Ham 1, Aston Villa 1. And yeah, I guess it was a deserved draw, much needed point, especially with Tottenham losing the day before. And here to go through it with me is Gareth. Gareth, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, mate. Yeah, it's a shame we couldn't get it over the line, isn't it, really? But I think, given performance level wise and everything, after Thursday and everything, I think it was a decent away point, just.
Yes. And the old proverbial game of two halves, I would say. And we'll get into its substitutions making an impact, which is what we've been accustomed to these last few weeks, where we've had to dig deep into the squad. And it's going to play a big part going through the season.
We've needed them, haven't we? And I don't think I realise how much sort of we did need them, really, especially the likes of Zaniolo. You know, we've all been a little bit hit and miss. Let's fair to say, but that's what you need. You know, that's what they're there for. And I think the manager has a part to play. I think because, could we have got it right against and again against West Ham, a little bit indifferent, but at the end of the day, the changes made a difference. That's what he's there for.
Yeah, exactly. Well, before we get into it, we are literally 15 away from 3,500 subscribers. So if you haven't already, hit the like button to help us spread the word of the channel. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already to help us on the road to 4,000 subscribers, and get your comments in below. We are in negotiations with Gareth to do a live fans forum. So any questions, anything you want him to talk over, please do get them into the comments. So let's get into it, Gareth. Passing networks. Obviously, the first half was a bit of a different formation, I guess, different tactical setup from Unai Emery. And how did it go for Villa initially?
Yeah, we saw the usual sort of without Matty Cash hybrid back three with Moreno pushing on, didn't we? And that's what we sort of become accustomed, especially a lot of away from home, to be that little bit more sort of attacking down that side and maybe a little bit more solid. I don't think we can all probably agree now that even though Matty Cash sort of links up better with Leon Bailey, I think we are better with an orthodox back four with sort of Cash supporting Bailey and Moreno or Dina pushing on. So, yeah, quite indifferent for me. Again, we saw Powell involved in the side straight away. Those passes from Martinez to Powell to Luiz across midfield, we see that quite a bit now. We know that Powell is that main outlet, sort of that first phase of the build-up. So yeah, it was interesting to see. I think we do miss McGinn again with the hold up, to be able to receive and turn. So I think we do miss that. Luiz again, a little bit lethargic again for me in possession. Just needs to be that little bit more fluid, I think. We lack that.
Yeah, and the Duran Watkins forward line didn't really work, did it?
No, it just didn't work. I mean, it was a thing that was, I think they're trying to push West Ham back. They're trying to sort of occupy two centre halves so that then people like Tielemans and Rodgers can come in behind sort of thing and sort of support from there. But it didn't really work, did it?
No. And then looking at 46 to 63, obviously Matty Cash coming on. What was the differences you saw here? Obviously Diaby's on as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that sort of thing. I know it's only a sort of just under a 20-minute period, but the difference is that you're then getting Konsa back into his right centre back position. You've got Matty Cash there, and the point that I wanted to highlight more here is that Cash is over the halfway line on average. We don't see that with Konsa and Powell because they're having to be more centralised. Therefore, it limits Powell's involvement in the build-up because he has to stay that little bit deeper because he is another centre half sort of thing. So I just wanted to highlight that Cash and Bailey effect and Diaby just trying to occupy more in wide areas, really. We'll see that. We'll get onto that in a minute.
Makes sense. And then the expected threat in terms of the passing and set pieces. Torres there featuring prominently as you highlighted earlier. Sufal and Ward-Prowse obviously when he came on in that little period of time with the threatening of his set pieces. But anything else that you notice in here?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, when we look at it, Vladimir Sufal is very similar to Matty Cash in the way that he goes about his business. He's a very sort of similar sort of player, but has a little bit of a better end product. But they're very sort of similar players, and I think that's the idea that Emery was hoping Matty Cash would be that sort of right back, but he's not. But Pau Torres again involved in that build-up, and that mostly was the expected effect was in the second half. And again, we'll get onto that in a minute.
Yeah, yeah. And then in terms of the passing locations, expected threat passing locations, I mean, anything set pieces being the big issue, which we're going to talk about a lot. Yeah, anything you notice here? A Villa 0.6.
Yeah, I mean, the expected threat from West Ham is higher because of those James Ward-Prowse sort of deliveries and those sort of corners. But we're looking more along the lines of the possession for West Ham was 30% to Villa's 69. So, I mean, you're talking sort of that's a massive variation. And also 353 passes in the opposition half for Villa, just 130 for West Ham. So it shows
Yeah.
you the difference in what we're talking about there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we talked the subs coming on and change the game, but it reminded me of quite a bit of the Nottingham Forest away performance. They get a goal in the first half. Obviously not as early as Forest did, but then kind of just set up and just sit back and say, Villa, you come and try and break us down. And big physical side, it was almost playing into West Ham's hands. Like you said, all the passes that we had in their half, but we couldn't quite get through. We couldn't, they were getting blocks in, they were getting, clearances in, but you just need that one moment, and that's what we got. And I guess from an West Ham perspective, they are probably thinking, well, why do we sit back? Why do we do that? Why don't we just go and carry on playing? Because you're just inviting that pressure on. And at the moment, Villa have got the quality off the bench or quality on the pitch to make the difference.
Yeah, I think if that was us at home, 1-0 up, we would be really disappointed and agitated at that, wouldn't we? And that's a fair comment. Why didn't they go for the second goal? I think they wanted us to play in, they're quite happy for us to play in wide areas and for us to sling crosses into the box. Well, that's not really our game. We want to play central. So they were quite happy, as you say, to sit in a deep and low block and block us centrally. So we had to sort of work our way around that. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. It comes down to that one moment, doesn't it?
Yeah. Quick look at the XG in terms of the shot map. Anything in particular that you notice in here?
No, just a lot of central shots from West Ham there, which we have been allowing a lot of shots in these sorts of areas. I think some of them are from set pieces. The Matty Cash block was exceptional, by the way. We should mention that. And a lot of those shots, like I say, are from central areas. But we didn't, even though we've got 13 shots, we just didn't really create a lot of any worth.
No. I mean, you could see the wheels cranking. 50 minutes onward, you could see it kind of cranking up. But as you say, there wasn't many times that we got in behind one-on-one. There was a couple of poor decisions where Matty Cash could have had a shot when he decided to cross, and people not quite getting on the end of a cross or whatever. Maybe Watkins not quite sharp enough to get onto the end of something. But yeah, it was one of those where it was waiting for that one moment, and obviously, thankfully, it happened. But yeah, that central areas for letting in shots is a concern, because I mean, is that indicating a weakness through the middle in terms of midfield, in terms of blocking runners, or is it central defenders too wide? What would you say it is?
I think it's the biggest miss of Boubacar Kamara that you could probably indicate. I think that him dropping into that backline or just closer to that backline is not something that Douglas Luiz or John McGinn do very well. I don't think it's something Yuri Tielemans does very well either. So I think that is a big miss. I think that extra player in there as well. But some of these shots are coming from set pieces as well, which is, again, another little bit of a concern. But we've got to be a little bit tighter there for me.
Yeah. Quick look at the timeline. Kind of. I think we said sort of 60 minutes onwards that kind of cranking up started to happen. But yeah, not much threat in the first half at all, which is quite surprising from Villa.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like you say, this indicates we can see, like you say, from 60 minutes. And I think that's an indicator that you'd like to see. I think you'd like to see the impact of the substitutions on the shot count would probably help that. I think that would back up Emery'S reasoning as well. But yeah, first half, again, it's back to the Steven Gerrard era for that game, wasn't
it? Yeah. We just couldn't get going, but it is what it is. We managed to get back into it. So let's go into the analysis that you've got, because you've done some really good stuff again today. And there was quite a lot to go through in terms of how the game went, and lots of times when there's kind of changes in momentum in games, it does show, quite a lot from an analysis perspective. But first one, you're looking at the high press, and we've seen this quite a lot from teams now utilizing this tactic.
Yeah, this was before the goal. So West Ham are trying to sort of hurry us. They're at home. They're trying to get the crowd on side. They're trying to sort of build up some sort of pressing momentum. They know that we like to build up from the back, as you say. Teams like to do this. Now, West Ham sort of pressed in this sort of the 4-2-3-1 sort of shape, if you like. And it was up to Kudos. This is where we played into their hands, really, because Matty Cash is not going to be there when he starts games. He's going to be higher up. He's going to be where Moreno. So you're asking sort of the West Ham attacking midfielders to sort of drop off and do a bit more of a job. Well, we kind of played into their hands a little bit because Consa's not that right back. So Consa's just going to sit there, and Kudos is they're just inviting him on. So you've got the 3-on-4 play. It's just too easy for West Ham.
Yeah. And this is where I think sometimes like Luiz and Tielemans, to an extent, although I thought his movement was pretty good as the game went on, but particularly Luiz I just think our midfielders can do more to try and pull their midfielders around a little bit. Like empty the space and then come back into it. Like there's loads of things that they can do, but they're just standing there like waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, or even just push yourself up another 10 yards. Push Tielemans and Luiz. Pushes like we've seen it against I think it was the other the Brighton game, where Luiz and McGinn, they pulled in behind Brighton's 3 attacking midfield. So you're pushing them back, you're giving them the choice to make. And Powell can make them passes, by the way.
Yeah. You just need a little bit more from them. And same with the forward players as well. I know they weren't on that particular graphic, but same from them. So second half, the Matty Cash effect. What was the Matty Cash effect?
Yeah, a bit of a fancy headline there. I think I've gone a bit too much for that. But I mean, I think what I noticed was straight away when we compared this slide to the previous slide, look where Kudos is going to. He's going back towards his own goal, which is not what he was having. He was not having to do that in the first half against Consa. He was quite happy to press Consa, push on because there's nothing behind you. So you're fine, Mohammed. Just push on. And this, I think, is what's important. This is where I think Cash and Bailey, no matter how much criticism Matty Cash gets, these two do combine quite well, or are starting to combine quite well. And you're pushing opposition player. He's an attacking midfielder, by the way, Kudos. You're pushing him back towards his own goal, making him chase back. And I think that was where the change was. That was probably the better change out of all of them.
Yeah, 100%. He had a great second half, to be honest. He had a great second half. But when obviously, at times West Ham go into this low block, and they like to see you try and break them down, especially if they go 1-0 up. You've put their hammers low block and feeding Ollie. What were the difficulties that we were facing there then?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what we've said. It's the low block. I mean, I got West Ham from the data. It was 17 passes per defensive action. So they were just allowing Villa to have the ball. If we compare that to Villa, it was 9.1. So for all those passes, they were just let West Ham were quite happy to sit deep in and have a higher PPDA and not worry about what was going on. They were just happy for Villa to play in front of them. And I think this is where the Watkins and Duran thing for me didn't work, because Ollie Watkins likes to occupy that defensive line right across. He's not bothered where it is. He's not bothered too central, but he'd like to work the line. And I think with Duran there, he was a bit limited on where he could move. I know that's a bit stereotypical, but he doesn't want to go into wide areas because that's Leon's domain. So he's got to stay central. With a mid block like that, look at that. I mean, it's 10 West Ham players behind the ball. Bowen's out of shot here by Moreno, by the way. So you've got everyone back behind the ball. And Pau Torres needs to be getting on that ball. And we'll see that again in a minute. Just creating those passes. And I think this is where Rodgers struggles a bit as well, Rich.
Yeah. Again, there's little things that you can do. I thought that playing Duran would mean that we'd maybe go, where you've talked about being more direct in the past in games where it's just Watkins up front. I thought we'd go more direct and use Duran and then try and win second balls and stuff, but it just didn't happen.
No, I thought exactly the same as you. I thought with Duran's included, I thought we're going to see Watkins play a bit higher up and we're going to see Duran in that 10, just flicking balls on and et cetera, et cetera. But we were kind of caught between two minds because we wanted to play out wide, but yet we struggled to do that. We like to play through central areas. We couldn't do that. And we like to go over the top to Watkins, but we couldn't do that. So it was kind of trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So you've mentioned Pau Torres quite a bit in terms of him getting on the ball. And it was noticeable second half him trying to drive forward a little bit more. So yeah, what were you noticing with him?
Yeah, it allows us to do that on the introduction of Moussa Diaby because you're having another attacking player pushing central area. So you look at that. I mean, you've got Watkins, Diaby, and Bailey stretch across that three with Rodgers a little bit further forward, all right, in this occasion. But the addition of Luca Dina as well is high and wide. I think he's the better left back. I've got to be honest now. I think he plays his way into this side now for me. But yeah, getting Pau Torres into these areas, and this is almost like in a central defensive midfielder position, isn't it, Rich? Like a playmaker position,
Yeah,
which I think he could probably do. And I think I noticed that in the second half, it was important that Pau was in these areas and he was able to sort of the threat of the through ball and the key pass was there.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got really good ability on the ball. Now, a controversial figure, figure of much derision from Villa supporters, Nicolo Zaniolo has now come up with 2 key goals for Aston Villa in the Premier League. Actually, 3 key goals if you count in the Europa Conference League as well. And this game, he really did have, other than the goal, he really did have an impact on the game.
I ate my words literally on 60. What did he come on? 63 minutes he came on. I've got it. At 63 minutes he came on. I've got my head in my hands thinking, oh, no. 10 minutes later, I was eating my words, wasn't I? You know, and I think he sort of grabbed. It was really weird, wasn't it? Because we've never seen him do much before. And it was almost like he was there. And the runs from deep really caused problems.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I lost you for a sec.
It's all right.
Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
No problem. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Let me just get the screen back up there. Sorry, viewers. Sorry about that.
No,
just a few slight internet issues there. But yeah, sorry. We were just. I think it's Nicolo Zaniolo. He's not used to the praise.
No,
So yeah,
he's interrupting
talk to us about it.
Yeah, I think the substitutions on 46 minutes, the Cash and the Diaby one, they kind of did work. But I think he wanted to sort of get it to that next sort of level. And I think these substitutions on 63 were the ones that really did sort of kick it on. I think the Matty Cash one was good. I think that worked. But Zaniolo coming on 63 minutes, for some bizarre reason, it did work.
Yeah, like there is against Souček. I think it was that. I think Alvarez and Souček were getting more and more kind of tired, more and more exposed, and the last thing that they needed was a big, burly, physical, deceptively quick player coming on, and he just caused havoc. And then obviously for the goal, I mean, yeah, great play from Diaby, and I guess you just highlighting that position shows the kind of how alive he was to the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, he did really well because I just thought when the cross came in and sort of the cutback, should I say, from Diaby, who should have scored a few minutes earlier, by the way, if I remember rightly, I just thought he's not going to get on the end of that. And sure enough, he's just sort of, I thought it was an own goal at first. I thought there's no way he's managed to stab that home, but he did. He was a fantastic goal.
Yeah, great goal. And yeah, like we've said, some of these substitutes are going to have a big impact as the season goes on. So long may it continue. Finally, just to end on a slight negative, the set pieces. I mean, what is going? I know we've talked about this before. The lack of Tyrone Mings, the lack of obviously Carlos not in there as well, although he's not been amazing. What is going on with Villa at set pieces?
I think I've posted a graphic the other week about it, and I just think some of our set pieces and everything else, we're sort of, for some reason, we look vulnerable at it. And I think you say about a Tyrone Mings and stuff like that, but I think we're something like the third worst, if I'm correct. Yeah, we're almost joint with the third worst for conceding set piece expected goals, and it's like, well, they're converting them as well. I can't think. I know this was a bit different in this game, but and it's really hard to sort of get this across to people in stills. We need more sort of clips of video to do it. But this constant blocking off of Emi Martinez is really worrying that people aren't seeing that. just stick Musa Diaby in there. Stick someone in there. Just stick anyone in between the goalkeeper and whoever it is, because this is what a lot of teams are doing now. They know that Martinez will come for the ball. They're comfortable with it. If they can get someone like Antonio to block him, and we were lucky to not concede from it, Rich, weren't we?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you've got to get someone in between the Antonio and the goalkeeper there. And also for me, I just never understand it why you have 11 players in the box. I just don't get it. Have two players out on halfway line. Make them match, at least match you up man for man, because then you have less of their players in the box. I don't get it.
No,
I don't
and
get it.
I think either you're going to go part zonal or full zonal, or you're just going to
Yeah,
mark man to man.
yeah,
Here,
it's
we
got to be
kind of,
man to man.
yeah,
Yeah.
this I think it's got to be, especially against big teams, Rich. Against big teams like West Ham, who you know are an aerial threat. You know, you've got to go man for man for them. Luton Town would be the same. You know, you'd probably do the same at Forest as well. So you've just got to be a little bit more aware of it. And like you say, that crowding out of the box, the opposition, you're letting the opposition take those players into the box. If that's what they want to do, that's fine. But just be aware and be man to man. Mark the big guys.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. It needs to improve, because you're going to undo all the hard work. You're going to give yourself so much to do. You know, it's the worst way to concede from set pieces as well. You know, they're so straightforward goals, and it's like you end up giving yourself an uphill battle in a game, or you end up getting pegged back, and the team are then become more kind of encouraged by that fact. And you saw Luton, two set pieces, all of a sudden you're nearly losing the game.
Yeah,
Like
and I
we,
think what we said. I think we said it last week. I'll worry about the Arsenal game because this is the team apart from Everton who are converting set pieces willy nilly, and you almost think to yourself, it's like Fergie time. You almost knew there was going to be a goal. Arsenal get a corner with Declan Rice in swinging one. You almost feel like they're going to score. It's almost as good as a penalty. Almost, it's really strange. So we've got to be. I do worry about that.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, international break now, Gareth. I guess much needed rest for some players. Hopefully, we get the likes of Carlos fully fit, Ramsey fully fit as well, because last 9 games and plus the Conference League, obviously against Lille, and hopefully then moving forward to Olympiacos or Fenerbahce, it's crunch time, mate.
It's almost about bodies now, isn't it? It's how many bodies have you got available for this running? Yeah, I mean, it's massive. I think, I wonder when the tipping point will be at the stage where we're going to prioritise one over the other. Because it looks to me now, like with the coefficient stuff going on, like fifth will probably be good enough. So we're in a really good position like that. So then what does he do? Does he then fancy his chances in the Europa League and really, I know he's going to go for it anyway, but there will be a tipping point where it comes to you're going to have to prioritise one over the other, no matter what people might say.
Yeah, well, I think, like I've said before, I think the games against the likes of Wolves, Chelsea, Brighton, obviously we've got a point against West Ham, but those are the 3 games. If we can get 3 wins from them, so that'd be 10 points from the 4 games against the teams, not around us, but just beneath us. Those are the key ones, because anything you pick up against Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal are bonus points, and then you've got to be expected to beat the likes of Crystal Palace, Brentford. You've got to be you've got to be expecting to win those games. So it's those 4 games for me those other 3 games against those kind of teams around us that are really key for me.
Yeah, and I do think we shouldn't forget that Tottenham have got to play the top 3, haven't they? Am I correct in saying
They
that?
have as well. Yeah.
I mean, I know he won't be relying on that. Of course, you don't rely on other people's results, but you do when you're at the bottom in a relegation scrap. So some people might say you could at the top, but it depends what Tottenham. You can just see Tottenham winning all 3 games. You just don't know, do you? But so you won't rely on that. But I think we're in a really good position. I think now that 5th is pretty much a Champions League place, I think we're in a really good position.
Yeah. Well, again, as always, Gareth, fantastic analysis. Really, really good. Where can people find you if they want to get more?
Yeah, you can find me at Analytics GC and all the weekends games, the Premier League. They'll be up on the site later on this afternoon.
Fantastic. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get your comments in below, your thoughts on that game from Sunday, and anything else you want Gareth to take a look at. Don't forget, look at Follow him on Twitter at analyticsgc. I'll also put the link to his website as well in the chat. We'll be back later on tonight, actually, for a fans forum special with AVFC Stato. So that's going to be interesting. He always comes out with some good stats. So make sure you tune in for that. And then we've got our usuals across next week, match previews, and Gareth will be back in a couple of weeks for talking tactics. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Thank you all for watching, and as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa.